everybody watching this. Amazing. I know it's going to be amazing because I'm here with a dear friend and colleague of mine, Danielle Klooster. And welcome to the Rural Alberta Business Centre Secrets of Success podcast, or what I like to call Wow Live Chat, because it will guarantee to wow you. So my guest today is Danielle Klooster. Danielle wears many hats, and I like to call her a bit of a mentor of mine as well. So that's one hat that she wears. Another hat that she wears is the Senior Business Development Advisor at Catapult Entrepreneurs, an amazing incubator program that serves Central Alberta, and its hub is in Red Deer. But Danielle not only just does that, believe it or not, she is a strategist in her own right, operating her own consulting company called Danielle Klooster Consulting. And she's a wife and a daughter and a mom and an aunt and all these amazing things and she's going to share with us some secrets of success in business today. So Danielle, thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to spend some time with everybody this afternoon, and always to spend time with you, Michelle, of course.
Oh, thanks. Danielle, did I get all of the hats that you wear correct? Tell me about you.
You definitely got all of the hats of that pertain to our conversation today. You might have forgotten grandma. Of course, that's a very important hat as well. But yeah, those are the Danielle Klooster Consulting and Catapult Entrepreneurs are certainly the two things that take up most of my time these days, and I love doing them. So yeah, I have a lot of fun with that.
Tell me about Danielle Klooster Consulting.
Sure. So I am an organizational development specialist, and what all of those 50-cent words mean is that I help not-for-profits, municipalities, and businesses do all of the important but often boring foundational work that they need to do, like strategic plans, communications strategies, needs assessments, feasibility studies, all of those really things that you need in order to get the job done and do it well. But it's hard to kind of get that done yourself. So I come alongside and take the pain out of it and make actionable, practical strategies that businesses and organizations can actually act on and use to meet their objectives.
Wow, that is a big agenda. So as an entrepreneur, Danielle, I know you've had many hats over the last few years. What made you choose to go into business for yourself and be an entrepreneur and tackle being a woman in business?
Yeah, so I did always kind of plan to eventually have my own contracting or consulting company, but really, the conventional trajectory is that you have your professional life for this many years, and then when you reach around, 60 or in your early 60s, you go consulting, right? That's what we do. So that was originally my plan. But you know how life goes, like different opportunities come along and you take them, and some of them turn out well and some of them don't turn out well. And I was working for a regional economic development organization back at the earlier part of this decade, and got recruited by a company, a Florida-based company that did all of its business in Latin America, but they wanted to penetrate the US market and the Canadian market, and they recruited me to start up and run their Canadian subsidiary. And I was just enamored with that idea of doing that, and particularly with only 5% of CEOs in Canada being women, I wanted to contribute to that. So I left that job and went ahead and took this new job And, kind of like right from day one, I knew that I had not listened to my gut, and I felt like I had entered a social experiment to see how much frustration one person could handle.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Small and large.
So when you're in that, you know that you have seriously misstepped into somewhere where you should not be, right? And it's a real lesson in learning to listen to my gut. But I kind of thought after a few months in that job, I thought, okay, well, I guess what we're going to do is we're going to start the consulting practice early. So I thought that I would hang out my shingle and work my way out of the job, right? Start taking on projects and sort of build the business and work my way out of this frustrating job. And I didn't even have my website up yet. I just had a Facebook page up for about 3 days. And within 3 days, I had enough business on my plate to be able to quit my job and go full time. And so, yeah, it really was.
And you know what? That's where a lot of entrepreneurs start. They start being tired of working for somebody else, being employed, and think, you know what, maybe I should work for myself, or maybe I should do something on my own. And wow, 3 days, that's amazing.
I know, yeah. So there's an entire story around that, which I think we'll talk about as we go through our conversation. But I think it's important for people to recognize that whether you want to be employed or be self-employed, you definitely, if you are having that experience where you get up in the morning and you dread going to work and you just your gut is telling you that nothing fits and everything is really, really hard, then you really need to listen to your gut and make a substantial change.
Absolutely. Danielle, we have some viewers watching us live today, so we want to give a shout out to them. If you have any comments or questions you'd like to ask Danielle, by all means, post them, and we'd be happy to answer as we go along. So, Danielle, what is, in all of the things you've done, in all of the businesses you've built, what would you describe as your greatest success?
Oh, well, it's kind of hard to pick and choose, but I think that, when we look at even the title of the chat, Secrets of Success, some people would struggle to say, like, well, am I successful? What is success? How do we know? And I feel confident in saying that I am a success because of how I have defined success. And for me, the journey that I've been on has been to come to understand what living authentically, intentionally, and purposefully means, and to find avenues to do that. And so I feel like I am a success, and I can confidently say I'm a success in business and in life, despite its challenges, which are many and continuing, of course, for everybody. I can say that because I've defined it as just that personal satisfaction and always living authentically. But when I think about specific instances of success, one of the things that, so none of the ways that I would define success involve money. One of the things that has been wildly successful beyond what I could have ever imagined is in 2013, after 2 terms on municipal council, I decided not to run again. And when the election started, the municipal election started in Alberta, I wrote a blog post called 5 Terrible Reasons to Run for Municipal Office. And that went viral in Alberta right away and was published in several newspapers across the province. I had candidates from all over the province contacting me and asking if they could use it in their speeches. People were, printing it off and handing it out at the doors. It was just crazy what happened with it. And then the next year was the municipal elections in Ontario and British Columbia. And sort of the same thing happened all over again in both of those provinces. And they were using it in campaign schools to train candidates and so on and so forth. And I wrote a supplementary blog post called 6 Awesome Reasons to Run for Municipal Council. It was not as viral, but they are a package, and lots of people have read both of them. And then when this election happened again in 2017, the same thing happened again. They just ramped up and went crazy again in Alberta, and I've started having it posting again in British Columbia in advance of next year's election out there, and so that's a crazy success that just I'm enjoying to the fullest. And I'm really, what I wanted out of that was for people to really think about how they vote and what they're hearing from candidates. And I wanted candidates to do better. And I really think that blog post has checked those boxes. So I'm very proud of that accomplishment. And then the other accomplishment that I would say I'm most proud of is, when somebody says in front of me, or writes me an email and says, you said something to me that really changed my life or impacted me in a profound way or helped me make an important decision. Those are the moments when I know that I'm doing what I was put here to do. And
living your purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's nothing more meaningful to me than having somebody say, you impacted my life.
Because you're absolutely right. Sometimes success is not about the bank account. Sometimes success is the impact that you have, the difference you made in somebody's life today. It could be smiling at somebody as you walk down the street, or it could be giving a helping hand, or it could be having building a successful business relationship.
And I have to say though that the business in the years that it's been operating, it's all by invitation. So people reach out to me for projects. I don't do business development. People come to me with projects, and I engage in the projects that I want to engage in. And I would say that the reason behind that is because I spent 15 years, I've spent the last 20 years, but really a solid 15 years before I started my practice, building my personal brand and my network. And that is 100% the ticket to success for entrepreneurs. Yeah.
So let me segue into that a little bit, because I love personal branding, and I love networking. One of my favorite things to do, especially with WOW. So how did you go about building that personal brand and building that network so you were so well known and you made such amazing quality connections that now those connections are knocking on your door?
Yeah, so it was not done in a contrived or manipulative way. I didn't make a list of people that, I wanted to be friends with or anything like that. I just really had a sincere desire to help people. And so when I'm talking about effective networking and building your personal brand, I talk about, there's the 4 agreements, be impeccable with your word. Be a person who follows through, be a person, there's kind of 3 things that people look for somebody that they want to do business with or that they want to be in relationship with. And my mentor taught me those 3 things, and they are character, competence, and chemistry. And it's hard to have a solid relationship without all 3 of those components. So I looked for that kind of feeling and that kind of fit. When somebody would say, hey, I want to have coffee with you or go for lunch with you, or can we meet, or can I talk to you about this or whatever, I always took the meeting, and I still always take the meeting. There's this perspective that, well, what's the value of this meeting? What's the objective? Before I agree to this meeting, I need to know, what the value of this meeting is and what we're going to talk about. And if it's not worth it to me, I'm not going to take the meeting. Well,
or should I show up at a networking event with the intention of, getting a sale versus building connections?
Right. And just going there to be yourself, just going there to enjoy the company of others and get to know people. And I think that one of the things in taking meetings and having lunches and having coffee and going to networking events is to just be interested in others. Just be interested. Just be open to the conversation and what they're sharing. Help where you can. Sometimes it's as simple as, hey, I'll connect you to so-and-so. I know a person who I'll connect you to. And it's as easy as a follow-up email to connect them to a meaningful contact that can help them. So I've helped them. And that really builds, credibility with the community.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Danielle, now that we've explored some of your successes, we all know that the entrepreneur life cycle is a bit of a roller coaster ride, filled with ups and downs and good days and bad days and days where you think, oh, I finally made it, and the next day you're like, why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. So what would you think that your most significant struggle has been in business, and how did you overcome it?
So I don't separate anything out. I don't think that, my business is here and my home life is here and my other things are here, and those are all separate. We're one person, and it's all a package deal. And if we're having a struggle, we're having a struggle. And it doesn't matter if it's in business or in our personal lives, we're in it. Mm-hmm. So for me, the biggest struggle to success in business and in life has been mental. It's just like every athlete knows, it's 90% mental. It's how you think about yourself, about others, and about the world around you. I've been on a journey to, like I mentioned, to really live authentically. And that has meant refusing thoughts that criticize me, thoughts that limit me, and thoughts that punish me. Those thoughts don't serve me. They don't get me where I want to go. And they don't serve others. They cut off connection. They cut off opportunity. They stop me from being who I am. And they stop me from making meaningful connections with others. So we go in the direction of our thoughts. And,
absolutely.
And what we focus on.
I know that I'm a huge proponent of you are the person you think you are.
Absolutely.
So which direction do you want to think?
Right. And it's really hard though. Like I'm not minimizing this because it is hard. It is hard work to do, especially when those punishing, limiting, critical thoughts feel true, look true, seem true, sound true. And the thoughts that take you where you want to go, the positive thoughts, the open thoughts, the hopeful thoughts, maybe don't seem true and don't feel true. But you have to choose. That's the mental game that I'm talking about, that athletes know, that you have to discipline your mind. And it's a daily discipline to choose thoughts that will take you where you want to go. So what you focus on is magnified in your life. And so if you're going to focus on your limitations or your past or the things that you think are your flaws and shortcomings, then that's what's going to be magnified in your life. So
I just want to stand up and say, here. Because it is really the truth that you need to make a choice. Mm-hmm. And I know that, through my Shut the Duck Up presentations, quite often I'll say we actually have this false belief of thinking that our thoughts control us, but we actually can draw a line in the sand and say, enough, I control my thoughts. And in fact, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to, like you said, discipline ourselves so we can control our thoughts. So how did you control your thoughts to really focus on success in business?
Right. So I have learned that for myself, living authentically and living happily and joyfully and being my personal best means identifying the values that are important to me, my personal values. And once I identified, my top 5 values, I took those values, and it was hard to sort of come to it, right? Like, I think people can write a lot of what their shortcomings are, but when you ask them what their values are, what they think is inspiring and meaningful about themselves, a lot of people struggle to come up with that list. So that took a lot of time and introspection and reflection, came up with those values, and then wrote a values statement. And that statement, I don't always remember to think about it every day or say it every day, but on the days that I do remember it and focus on it and reflect on it for a few minutes in the morning, those days I am better served and I serve better than the other days. So it provides me with a framework through which, or a lens through which I can check my behavior, check my decisions, check my words, and make sure that I'm actually living up to my personal values and who I am and who I want to be. And that just, like, the whole universe opens up when you live that way. Like, it just happens. There's something called the law of attraction, and you just attract the things that you want to attract when you're living out of your best self.
Absolutely. So Danielle, I might just put you on the spot here, if that's okay. You know, I'm like that.
Yeah.
Would you share your value statement with me?
Sure, I would love to. So my value statement is: today, I will positively impact, influence, and inspire those around me, bringing wisdom and joy to the day.
That indeed, my colleague and friend, is exactly what you do.
Oh,
exactly what you do. I've been in the room with you many times, especially at the Central Alberta Small Business Think Tank that we do together, and that is exactly what you do. So I can firmly attest that the people that are watching Danielle is certainly living her value statement. Absolutely.
Thank you.
My next question is about industry. You've been in several different industries, and you've developed small business, you've developed large international businesses. So what industry changes have you seen over the last few years, whether it be changes with technology that might impact businesses, or otherwise, or even the economic cycle that we live in? What has most affected your business and how you serve, and how do you adjust to all these big outside economic or technological changes?
I think from an industry standpoint, what you see is that industry always has evolved and always will evolve. It's evolving. And we don't typically hire children to sweep out our chimneys anymore. Like, that's not a thing, but it was a big time job, a couple hundred years ago. Yep. Things change, right? And so it's when industry is inflexible and doesn't understand that things have to evolve and have to change, and you have to be nimble and responsive and prepared to change. So that is being prepared to change and being open to change and doing things in a new way is certainly one of the key things. And as we've gone along through the information age into the digital age, change is speeding up. like, and economic conditions change things, on us. It seems like every other year there's something else going on in the economy that changes things. And even in schools, they say, well, how do we prepare children? How do we educate children to be successful in their future when things are changing so rapidly? So it becomes a matter of having good problem solving skills and good critical thinking skills. We have to prepare children for jobs that don't exist yet. If they're in grade 8 or grade 9 today, they're likely going to at some point work in a job or consider a profession that today doesn't exist. So how do you train them and prepare them for that? You teach people how to think, you teach people problem solving skills, and you teach people how to flex and flow through change. Those are super critical and important personal skills to have, that everybody needs to have if they're going to succeed. I started out when I came to Central Alberta doing community development, did that for several years, served on council, involved in provincial politics, then went to work, at the chamber and in economic development and doing policy and communications work. And then went to work for the Regional Economic Development Organization, learned a lot about business and business strategy and that sort of thing. And you just have to sort of see, I always say, skate to where the puck is going, like Wayne Gretzky tells us, right? Have your eye on the horizon. One of the things that I think business can struggle with, especially solopreneurs, when you're the only person in the business, is that you really get down at that tactical level and you're just down in the weeds doing the tasks of your business.
Working in your business, not on the business.
And so if you've got that tactical perspective and you're really focused on these projects or these assignments or doing the things, and you don't have your eye on the horizon and you're not in strategy, a lot of the time, then you will run out of road. You will run out of road in your business. You've got to think strategically and act tactically.
Oh, I love that. Think strategically and act tactically. So that would be developing a strategic plan for the year, or just a plan. You don't even have to call it strategic if that makes you feel icky, but a plan for the next year, and then tactical about executing the action steps to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, you're going to have those external forces. What are the environmental forces? What are the political forces? What are the technological forces? What are the economic forces? Like, where are things at? I need to be aware of those things and how they might impact my business. And I need to be trying to think strategically about how to exploit those opportunities, or at least be one step in front of the things that could limit my opportunities. And if I'm paying attention to that and thinking about those things and developing those strategies, then I need to be able to also move in and execute. Like some people get, the paralysis of analysis.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're so busy being strategic that they can't execute, right? As an entrepreneur, you've got to be able to do both. You can't pick or choose one or the other.
Absolutely. And that could be as simple as figuring out, gee, I have a storefront. Maybe I need to take the storefront online as well. Or if I want to sell something online, what's the payment processes in the back end that I need to deal with? And
what can you partner with?
Yes.
Who else is in my supply chain or in my neighborhood, or what kind of cool things could we do together to take advantage of opportunities, events that are coming to town, any of those things. Like, where are the opportunities and how do I take advantage of those things?
Absolutely. Danielle, with your experience in business being so vast, for the business owners that are watching today, marketing and sales, of course, is one of the biggest struggles that I normally hear. How do I reach people? How do I get them walking in the door? How do I get them to see value in what I offer.
Mm-hmm.
And so in your experience, what is your best marketing tip?
So I probably want to talk about three things.
Okay.
So first of all, I would say that one of the main mistakes that businesses make is not doing market research.
Okay.
If you they want to reach people, they want to reach their customers. They don't know. They've just made an assumption on who those customers are.
They haven't validated the fact that they have customers.
Done any work to find out actually who their customers are. Sometimes your customers are not who you think they are. And if you are marketing to someone who you think is your customer, but they're not your customer, then the people who might be your customers, they see your marketing efforts and they think, oh, well, they're not talking to me, so I'm not paying attention. You need to know who your customers are by letting the market tell you who your customers are. And then you need to have specific marketing techniques to those people. You need to be speaking their language, and you need to be in places where they are looking for your services or products. And you need to have specific, you need to be targeted and smart about how you're going to reach those people. The buckshot approach does not work, and people will waste a lot of time and money. I love to tell the story of this fellow who he started our conversation by saying, so internet advertising, a complete waste of time and money, total waste.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, really? Well, why do you say that? And he said, well, I decided I was going to make this product, this camera mount. And, I developed this great high quality camera mount, and everybody says that, the internet's the way to go. So we put it online to sell it online and advertised all over online and on social media. And I never sold one unit. And I said, okay, so did you do any market research to find out if there was a market for that product? Well, after, when I was asking people why nobody was buying, it turns out people just want to buy the cheap crap on from other websites from overseas, and it was like, okay, so you invested significant time and money in developing your product. You spent significant amounts of money and spent a lot of time and invested a lot of energy in focusing on an online business and doing online advertising, but you had not done the first foundational, fundamental step of finding out if there was a market for your business.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so for the entrepreneurs that are listening today, I'm sure they're saying, okay, so I know I need to do market research, but I just don't know how. Mm-hmm. What would be a couple of steps that you could offer our audience today?
Well, certainly come to Catapult Entrepreneurs and take our discovery program, because you will then do a market research project as part of that program. There's two ways, and so just very, very high level quickly, there's two ways of doing market research, two components of market research. One is secondary research, which is, hey, Google, and researching what are those external forces and who are my competitors, and where are the gaps, and who's buying this, and where do they live, and how do you reach them, and all of that. And then primary research, which is doing things like interviews, experiments, surveys, those sorts of things. And you need to do both of those and gather that information, and then analyze the information, and let that research speak to you and help guide your decisions.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I much see one of my clients spend a lot of time doing market research, then a lot of money, and be thousands of dollars in the hole a year from now.
Aha.
Mm-hmm.
And it will, everything will become so clear, and you'll stop feeling so frustrated by your marketing efforts, because you'll be targeted and strategic and laser focused on the right people and the right places to do your marketing. So that would be thing number one. The second thing, as we've already kind of talked about, is to build your personal brand, is to get out there in the community, be part of the community, meet with people. People do business with people, and the foundation of business is know, like, trust. If people know you and they like you, then they will trust you and give you their business.
Yep, I have a soapbox that has those 3 words on it. I stand on it every time, because you're absolutely right. We are so technologically disengaged from each other, but we don't actually get into a business transaction or buy from somebody unless we have engaged personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it really doesn't help to start getting a negative perspective, when you're when people aren't buying from you, and to start being, in that negative headspace of, why aren't you buying from me? And well, that's not a good way to earn people's trust. So you need to get out there and be part of the community and be giving. And the more that you give, the more that will be given to you. It will come back to you. So that would be point number 2. And then point number 3 would be, again, it goes back to that mental game and that authentic living. There's, I think it's Brene Brown who talks about how we're in this way of thinking about do. So what am I going to do? And then I'll do these things, and then I'll have this, and then I'll be that. So once I do these things, then I'll get to have these things, and then I'll be this. And that is not authentic living, and that's not the way to, that's a futuristic thing of someday I'll be happy when I have these things because I've done these things. And actually the way that we want to live is to be happy every day and live a fulfilled life is be, do, have. So instead of do, have, be, we want to be who we are and authentically live out of our values and release our gifts to the world. And when we do those, when we be those things, then we will do the things that are authentic to who we are. And we won't be trying to be somebody we're not. We'll just be who we are. And we'll do the things that fit with our gut and fit with our personal brand and fit with our personal values. And by being and doing those things, then we will have a fulfilled, rich life, and opportunity will come to us.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
That's not a marketing tactic. That's a way of life.
Mm-hmm. And I think you touched really well on the personal brand being integrated into your business brand. Branding is not necessarily a logo or a sign or your Facebook cover profile. So how does a lot of entrepreneurs feel that they should separate, especially on social media, their personal life and their branding and what they do on a Friday night, right, to how they project themselves as a business owner in the community. So what's the difference between personal brand and business brand if you're a solopreneur, for example?
Right. So there isn't one. Your brand is not your logo. Your brand is not your tagline. Your brand is not your color and your palette on your website. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Your brand is your reputation, and you are your reputation. So if you have a brand promise that says we offer the best customer service in the industry, and then people don't have that experience when they interact with you or come into your place of business, you have not fulfilled your brand promise, and you will run into a brand problem. And once you have a brand problem, that's really hard to get over, really hard to fix a brand problem. So that's why I think it's just so important for every business owner to understand that they are the brand of their company, and and if you don't have, it's one thing to have a mission statement and have a vision statement, but really you need to have values. You need to have identified your core values, and you need to have ways of operationalizing your core values in your business. And people don't know what operationalizing their core values means. It means that every day, in every decision, in every communication, in every interaction, in everything you do, your values are living and active in the way that you do the things that you do. So if you say that integrity is a core value, which a lot of businesses say, everybody wants the word integrity in their value statements. If you say that integrity is a core value, then you need to know and understand what integrity means. And everything your business does and everyone who represents you needs to understand it and walk in it every day. It is again, it goes back to that being impeccable with your word.
Absolutely. And a lot of businesses will often say, well, one of our values is great customer service. But are they living that every customer, every day, every single time?
Mm-hmm. And like that right there, great customer service can be a real brand problem. It can lead to a brand problem because sometimes customers' expectations are completely unreasonable. And if you've got it out there that great customer service, customer satisfaction guaranteed, are you going to be able to fulfill that kind of brand promise? Is that something that you can 100% of the time accomplish? So it's much better to say we value fun, we value friendliness, we value honesty, we value teamwork. If those are your values, then you need to find meaningful ways to have those things be alive. Not everybody's going to love you. Not everybody's going to always be happy. But if you, at the end of the day, can walk away from your business and from your team and say, man, we really lived authentically today in our business according to our personal values. We really honored our values today. There's nothing more satisfying than that.
Absolutely. Danielle, as a mom and a grandmother, your advisory position at Catapult and running a business and being a community member, and I know that you look after a ton of people. How do you manage that ever mythical creature called work-life balance?
There's no such thing. No such thing as work-life balance. It goes back to what I said earlier in the conversation. You're just you. You're one person and you have all the things. And I feel like this whole work-life balance thing is another construct set up to make us feel guilty.
Yes.
So great. Now, in addition to working my butt off and being super successful in business, and having a perfectly clean house and having amazing children and well-loved grandchildren and a magazine-ready house and doing all of the things, I now also have to, make sure that I've worked in enough me time. And I've got this mythical balance thing worked out, and I've had enough green smoothies this week to, feel good about myself.
Right, and not only that, be regular too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I'm all about me time. I love wine on the patio, and I am absolutely take some me time, but don't try to fit it into some kind of crazy schedule because you should. I think we should really stop shoulding on ourselves and letting other people should on us. And, when I was a young mom, it was bad. And I think it's worse than ever for moms. I feel really sorry for young moms because they just can't get it right. and they're trying so hard to live up to the expectations of others. And when you release yourself from that, and you understand that self-care isn't necessarily a bubble bath or a walk. That's me time, and it's good and it's nice. But self-care is actually finding ways of getting things accomplished. Like nothing feels better than checking stuff off the to-do list and dealing with the messes and following through and finishing a project and learning how to reprogram my brain to get away from those, limiting, punishing thoughts. Though that is self-care. Learning who I am, discovering who I am, and finding ever increasing ways through the day to walk authentically in who I am. That's self-care.
Absolutely.
That's work, this mythical work-life balance. It's just go every day, release yourself from expectation, live authentically out of your values, and be who you are, and get done what you get done that day, and go to bed feeling good about that.
Because hopefully there's tomorrow to get done what you thought you should have done or should have done the day before or the day before that. But I know the entrepreneurial work-life balance looks exceptionally different than someone who might be an employee having work-life balance.
Absolutely.
When you're passionate about what you do, you just love doing it. Mm-hmm. So therefore, if you're, like me, you kind of do it all the time. and it's sometimes it's hard because you love doing it so much you have to put it down and walk away for a little bit. Mm-hmm. So this actually next week at the WOW evening that we have in Rocky Mountain House, we're talking about how to beat business owner burnout. Mm-hmm. If there was one tip you could give the entrepreneurs watching, because I think sometimes business owner burnout and overwhelm can be somewhat inevitable. Mm-hmm. But is there one thing that a business owner could do who is overwhelmed right now and feeling a little on the burnt out side, one thing that they could do to move beyond burnout, move beyond overwhelm?
Mm-hmm. I firmly believe that the road to burnout is paved with expectations. I expect this of myself, and when I'm not meeting my expectations, I feel let down and I feel disappointed in myself and I beat myself up. If I have these ideas of what others expect of me, and I'm running around trying to live up to, I'm trying to prove, I'm trying to please, I'm trying to perfect, I'm trying to perform, according to some kind of social construct that I think I need to be and do, that I will burn out. Because I'm not just living out of my joy and out of my passion. I'm living this, I'm striving, in a very stressful way. And I get very concerned about the amount of burnout that I see. And I mean, there are other factors. Make no mistake, there are people in industries, where they are dealing with people who've been traumatized, or they're seeing traumatic things themselves. And you have to have a really good self-care program that, involves, sure, bubble baths and walks, but it involves how you take care of your mental health. It is 90% mental. The whole of your life is 90% mental. Do what you want to do, but be mentally tough. Know who you are. Be authentic and true to yourself. Don't let others put expectations on you. Don't let yourself put contrived expectations on yourself. And slow down and figure out what do I actually want to do that is authentically me, what fits for me, and the things that don't fit for me, that are not me, why am I doing those things, and do I need to do those things?
Good point. Excellent point. Okay, we're about to wrap up, and I know that you have so much advice to give. So, and it's, believe me, this hour has been just so amazing for me, and I know we've had some great comments from the viewers as well. What is, for someone who is looking to become an entrepreneur, or maybe they've been struggling in business for, you know, the first couple of years, what's the best piece of a business advice that you would offer?
Everything I have talked about in this hour, really, like, stop everything you're doing and figure out who you are.
First and foremost, figure out who you are.
Foremost, figure out who you are, and get that statement, identify those values, get that statement of who you are, and start living, making strategies to live authentically every day. And things will turn around. Things will turn around. You know, for women in particular, I think that I think everybody can really struggle with that self-confidence, that self-awareness, that self-assuredness. But I think that, you know, women can be great collaborators, and they really, it's sort of natural to seek out community and to develop relationships and do things together. But there's also, when we aren't sure of who we are, and we're not confident in who we are and okay with who we are, then a lot of times there's this undercurrent of competition. You know?
Oh, yes. Competition versus collaboration.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like, I want to work with other people, but they better not be smarter than me. They better not be prettier than me, and they better not have a cleaner house than me, or they better not have a better, you know, system than me. I want them to be good, but not better than me, because I think that would make me look bad, right?
Or if I collaborate with another business, does that make me look like I'm failing?
Right. And who cares what it makes you look like? Stop worrying about what it makes you look like, and just think, who am I? And what feels right for me? What feels good for me? What fits with who I am? Like, the expectations of what things look like, or what we think people will think of us, like, we've got to let go of all of that. If you want the best for yourself, seek out the best. Find the best people to be in relationship with, and be in relationship with them. Find ways to help them and be of value to them. Not in a manipulative way, but in an authentic way.
I love it. That is the perfect way to wrap up our Secrets of Success segment podcast today. Danielle, thank you so much for being a part of this, I guess, movement of successful WOW women, and being such a great mentor to so many people through the Catapult program and through Danny Klooster Consulting as well. We've got some great comments that are happening on our comment feed. Thank you to everybody who joined us live, and to those who are watching the recording. I hope you enjoyed it as well. If you'd like to connect with Danielle, then simply Google Catapult Entrepreneurs in Red Deer. It is a fantastic program, which I am thrilled, as part of the Rural Alberta Business Centre, to be a spoke in their wheel, as we call it. And if you are looking for great business advice in Central Alberta, Catapult Entrepreneurs and the Rural Alberta Business Centres in Rocky and Canberra are great stops for you to make as well. So with that said, I hope you have a fabulous weekend. Danielle, thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you to everybody who joined in today. Yeah, and we'll see you at the next Secrets of Success WOW podcast next month with another special guest. So stay tuned for more announcements on that one. Okay, everybody, have a great weekend. Bye for now.